be a late 1860s infant pillow. Hi everyone, my name is Caitlin. I'm a living historian who educates other living historians by teaching old-fashioned sewing skills and copying original garments. This is kind of an impromptu video. We were going to do some cradle covers, but I'm behind on those and I'm moving. There's nothing in here anymore except for my one table and my one sewing machine and some stuff on the floor I have to clean up. So this is going to be something I was going to do anyway. I came across it while researching a couple months ago and said, hey, this would be fun to do one day. Well, one day is here because I don't have time to finish cradle blankets and this will be an infinitely easier project. I've never seen one of these in person, so I have lots of descriptions of them from 1864 to the early 1870s, and then I have one illustration of a German one, and that's all I got going for me. So it's essentially it's sort of hard to explain. So it's similar-ish to the baby buntings that we made for the 20th century. It's like a quilt or a cover for a baby, but it also has like down in it, so it's like a pillow. So when you're holding the baby, it's really soft on them, but it's not supposed to be something you leave the baby in. It's something you're holding your child in so it's comfortable for the parent and comfortable for the baby. It also kind of reminds me of the modern baby loungers. Again, something that you don't let babies sleep in, but something you let them like lay in to kind of entertain themselves. It's an interesting thing. So we're gonna go ahead and make this and figure out how we're going to do it. I have a bunch of things pulled up that I'm like, we're just gonna have to figure it out. So it does need some just regular muslin for linings and such. And then it needs like a nicer fabric. Sometimes I had dimity, but I couldn't find my dimity. It's in storage. So I have a nice cotton lawn here. It's a nicer fabric, so I figured using this is fine. And then I have some edging, which I could also just use extra of this, but I think I'd rather save this, so we're gonna use this. And this is down feathers. This should be a whole pound of down feathers. And I'm working on like no working space here, so this should ought to be very interesting. Oh, they so kindly put it in a zipper pouch for me. That's way better than the last place I bought it down from, which was not fun. Yeah, that'd be fun. Okay. This is probably not a good idea to do right before we move because the new owners are going to find feathers all over their new house for like months. I'm sorry. I'm going to do the best I can, and then I will sweep and vacuum and do whatever else I need to get the majority of it out. But I'm going to go ahead and pull up these descriptions because I need to figure out the dimensions of this thing. I actually don't know. And then I'm going to have to figure out how all this is going to play because it's like a fold over thing and the bottom half has feathers but the top half doesn't. It just kind of ties on. So it's kind of like a blanket, but it's a very light blanket. It just keeps the child contained and I guess safe. I don't know. We're going to figure this out together. All right, let's see here. Use this as a pillow. So this is the Lady's Friend, which is 1869 or 1868. It says, a novelty is a new kind of infant's pillow recommended as convenient and portable couch on which to carry young children, especially when ill. It protects them from cold as they are fastened into it, there is no danger of their rolling off. It is made of figured dimity and trimmed with nain sook frilling and embroidery. It is more like a long down stuffed bag than anything else, made a little bit longer than a baby. The underside is extending some quarter of a yard beyond the upper, which can be buttoned down to it on each side. On this largest end, rounded and trimmed, a little cushion is placed for the child's head to rest on when fastened into the bag, as it were. The whole rests quite easily on the nurse's arm, and for delicate children, it might no doubt be made very useful. Okay, let's see. And then there's an illustration from 1864, The Lady's Friends. It's something very similar. And this is a much more basic variety, but you can still kind of see it's plushy. This one's going to be a simpler version. It'll be an earlier version. Harper's Bazaar, which is 1867, and it says, this pillow will be found very convenient portable couch on which to carry young children, especially when ill. It literally quotes The Ladies' Friend. Oh, I love it when they plagiarize. Let's see. This one has actually more directions. A cut of dimity with muslin lining from figure 58, one piece, and a piece also of dimity and lining reaching only to the smooth line on figure 58. I gotta figure out where figure 58 is. Join these parts around the rounded edge with a cord. On the under straight edges, sew other pieces also of dimity and lining, which are only half as wide as the under part and are knotted together in the middle. Okay, so that's like the 1864 version, but it's knotted down the middle, not up the sides. Okay, the outside cover is also dimity and lining and of the length and breadth of the straight under part. This is stitched around the edge and joined to the underside of the pillow. The straight side of the small rounded part is stitched together and left loose so as to place a pillow under it. Next, ornament the upper part of the pillow and the outside cover with embroidered insertion, a puff 2 inches wide of Nansook, and a needlework frill. The puff on the cover is 4 inches wide. The illustration shows the manner in which the cover is fastened to the cushion. Somewhere there's going to be a figure 58. Okay, so I have to find both that one and this one. They have to exist somewhere. What else did I find? There's a German image of one, and it is a giant pillow with frills around it. And then it buttons or ties, I suppose, at the sides, which makes a lot more sense to me than the other way around. And then there's a Godey's Ladies Book, 1871, that has it on the sides as well. And it's a very fancy one. So it says cover for an infant's pillow. This cover is of muslin that is not modern muslin. That's period muslin. Very different. Trimmed on the edges with embroidered ruffle, 1.5 inches wide on the upper part in the manner of the shown on the illustration, with pleated strips, 1/2 inch wide, which are worked into the buttonhole stitch on the edges, headed by strips of muslin 1/5 inch wide, stitched down. This trimming is edged along the sides with tatted insertion. I don't even have any tatting with me right now. 1 inch wide, underlaid with a pleated ruffle. Both of these are also headed by stitched strips of muslin. Cut the muslin one piece of double material from engraving, and another piece 16 inches and a half long, 17 inches wide. Then cut of single muslin 2 pieces 16 inches and a half long and 8 inches and a half wide. That seems very narrow. Having hemmed these latter pieces on one side and on the ends, bind the other side between the double material of the other piece. Furnish the hem sides with several tapes by means of which they are fastened. Run the edges together on the remaining rounded edges, sewing in the ruffle at the same time. Then arrange the trimming on the upper layer of the smaller upper piece in the manner shown by the illustration. Run the edges together and join the under edge of the upper part with the principal part, fastening in a ruffle at the same time. On the upper corners of the upper piece and on the corresponding places in the underpiece, sew on tapes by means of which the over piece is tied on. That seems ridiculously complicated. We are not doing that one. I really like the one in the illustration. It is so plain and a little bit easier. I found the French magazine. So this is, the infant pillow. So it's, okay, what I'm seeing is it is one piece that is flat on the bottom, straight sides, and then a rounded piece on the top. This whole thing should fit a baby, which is what? Typically 18 to 21 inches long, and give it a couple more inches for growth. So we're talking maybe 25 inches total. And then this other, and that's supposed to be a quarter of a yard, so that would be 9 inches lower, would be that. So if I made it 27 inches, 18 inches would be the square part. And then you frill and do all sorts of fun stuff with that to make it fancy. And attach. And it looks like from the Godey's that we're only trimming the circular part of that bottom piece, which makes a lot of sense. And then you trim the bottom and sides and everything of the other piece. You can fold that down because it's only attached on the bottom. Baby fits in there, and then you tie it on the sides. Okay, I think this is doable. I think I know what I'm doing now. All right, we're gonna start with the lining. And I'm gonna actually need a couple of these because you need to be able to insert the feathers in between. And the lighter fabric is the feathers are gonna work their way through eventually. So you need something really stout and sturdy. And it did say like 16 inches wide. That seems really wide. This is the only tape measure I have right now. So 16 and a half. I guess it's not terrible. So I cut it 16 inches wide. We take up about a ½ inch for seam allowance. 15, I guess that's fine. Let's go ahead and rip. I said 27 inches long, and that's gonna be my long piece. And we'll rip all the way across because I'm gonna need 2 of them, and so I'll just cut one in half and then cut like the ends off. And I'm just gonna say 16 inches wide. This gets folded in half. I get 2 of them now. Okay. So these are the backs. I will be ironing this in a second, but I had to cut the other pieces first. Those are the backs. Let's go ahead and cut the front, which I'm gonna cut this way to waste less fabric. So 16 and a half inches wide. Okay. And then 9 inches shorter than that one would be 18 inches. And then I'm gonna do the exact same thing, but do it out of the nicer fabric, because again, this is the lining. I guess, I didn't actually need this because that lining piece, this will just make it warmer. We'll go ahead and cut only one of these of the nicer fabric though. And I am gonna have to figure out what I'm gonna do to decorate that nicer fabric before I cut it out. All right, I cut 2 of the big ones from this. I'm gonna iron them before I cut out the circle at the top. But what I'm gonna do right now is cut out only one of these big pieces, or of these small pieces to go on top. And again, there's a variety of ways you can trim it. According to the illustrations, no 2 are the same. And so what I'm going to do is what I deem to be the easiest one, well, other than leaving it plain, which after seeing so many trimmed, I don't think is an option for me. Like, obviously it's period correct, like you could do that, but I don't think I want to do that. So what we're gonna do instead is make a nice ruffle and then just hem it twice. We're gonna copy the French one essentially. And I'm gonna do that 3 times. I'm gonna want a decent sized ruffle. This is gonna make 2 ruffles. All right, I know it's like white on white, it's gonna be hard to see. I need a thin one on the very bottom, the nice fabric, and then I need a lining, and they didn't all end up being exactly even. So we're gonna cut them even, it's fine. Okay, and then I need another thick one, and we're gonna put the filling in between. I think we're gonna do that in a few steps. Okay, and then finally the outer fabric. And none of this is gonna get trimmed, none of that. We don't need to deal with any of that, so we're good. Okay. And that happened to be the shorter one. So we're gonna cut everything to match this one exactly. Fold this in half lengthwise. Hang on, is it this way or is it the other way? It's this way, okay. This just helps me know. So this is where the pillow part is. So that's where I'm gonna want, I feel like that's an awful long pillow. That's fine, we'll make it work, it'll be fine. We might want to cut a little bit off then, just to make it a little better looking. So let's go ahead and curve this out. This is a pillow, this is for the head. And then now we have this. I know it's really hard to see, but it's a curved end. All right, now, I mean, logically we'd turn it inside out or anything. That doesn't seem to be how period manuals do it. So what I'm gonna do now is iron in this long edge, leaving this bottom edge done. I'm gonna iron in about 1/2 inch, 3/8 of an inch, all the way around on all 3. So I'm gonna do these 2 together, and I'm gonna do these 2 on the inside, and they should hopefully match up. I'm gonna pin them together in the middle just to make sure that they stay together. Wonder how much of this I actually have. Yeah, I don't think we're gonna have enough to do everything I wanted to do. The thing is, I think I had more of this somewhere. Let's do a plain frill. Let's forego all embroidery. We no longer need this. I'm cutting more frills. I'm gonna cut them about 2 inches long. All right, this is the 5-inch ruffle that's gonna go down the middle. There's 3 pieces, so I stitched them together. And then this little ruffle I told you about, I stitched that, and we're going to hem it. All right, and this is the whiter one. I've hemmed both long sides. I am an unhelpful helper. All right, let's attach this first ruffle. So, like I said, I ironed in that. I didn't do the bottom yet, I just did the top that I was going to need for the step. So, I'll do the rest later. Folding in half, marking the center only because I marked the center of my ruffle as well. And I want to make sure to match them, that way at least they're evenly distributed. And this is my mark for where it needs to end, except I'm going to go an inch beyond that. And now we're just going to pull my little gathering thread and fit it all the way across. Frill it. I did this about 2 times the frill of this. So I took this measurement and multiplied it by 2. And that's how I got this measurement. There is an optional step of doing the pillow part, which I think one of the original sources talked about. But most of them don't show that. And so I'm not going to do that extra step. But I guess if you wanted to, you could. Scale-wise, I could have made this ruffle a little bit bigger. But I kind of think a smaller ruffle is cute. All right, just as I said, I'm going to start from here. This is the raw end, all the way across where the ruffles are, and then all the way back. And I'm going to do, actually I'm going to move this stitch a little bit, and we're going to do it right on the edge as sort of a top stitch. All right, now comes the fun part. We're going to get all of these into this, I think. I'm going to try to insert it as far as I can. We're opening up the zipper partially. Just see if I can kind of squish them out without making a huge fuss. And this isn't entirely down. There's some feathers in here too, so it'll make it a little bit easier to do this, maybe. No, I think I'm just going to have to fold them in. That's fine, that's fine. Alright, so it was a lot more feathers than down, which, okay, isn't what I actually ordered, but it worked for the house. I'm just hoping it's not too pokey for a baby. Although you gotta realize they have a lot of layers on, so I'm hoping this will be okay. I'm going to pin this shut to keep the feathers in as much as humanly possible. And it will fluff back out later on or fluff down. Yeah, I think that's good. It's not pokey. We're good. I think the 2 layers really help. All right. Now let's work on the cover portion. I guess starting with the top part, because we're going to have to put the frill on it. All right, so here's that part. I'm going to do 2 times as much again. And I'm going to do 2 frills down this thing. So I'm going to do another one. Same thing. All right, I'm going to fold over this hem. Oops, I'll get that one in a minute. I'm going to fold over the hem twice. Iron that down. Actually, hang on. No, we don't have to do that because these are raw edges too, so we'll have to hem them anyway. We'll hem them at the same time. All right, so I'm going to just lightly iron this so I can kind of see the center. So what I want it to be is about the same length of a ruffle. So yeah, if I do about ½ inch, that'll be an inch frill in the center with the ruffles on the end. So I'm going to put 2 gathering threads in each of these, ½ inch from either end all the way up, do the same on the other, and we'll come back and we'll stick it onto this. So here's one. I'm going to match them up with the center like this. And then we're going to pin that in, probably pin it this way and probably on the other end too. Hold everything in place. And the same thing on the bottom. Pulling both at the same time. Now the fun part is going to be making this evenly distributed. Now if I wanted to down the road, what I could do, which is one of the things recommended, is to put some insertion in here to make it a little bit prettier, which mine's all packed away, so I think we're going to have to forego that now. But I can always add it back in. I'll just sew this in the way it is now. Yeah, that's about even. Yeah, one of the, I think it was the 1864 source that talked about this being a good way to hold a baby in church or take it to church, which makes a lot of sense because if you hold a baby for a really long time, sometimes your arm will like fall asleep. And I'm betting this cushioned bit would help with that. So what I'm going to do is just stitch on the machine straight down each of those lines, keeping it as straight as possible. And then we'll have our ruffles put on. So fold this over. And then whatever is left of my ruffle here, that's going to get put to this. So whatever is going to be the bottom, which might as well be this end, I suppose, is not going to get stitched up right now. We're going to put the ruffle in, all of that, all the way around. But we're not going to stitch this bottom because we're going to stitch this bottom to the other bottom. So it's going to be stitching this together, stitching the ruffle on, and attaching the two pieces all in one step. All right, now let's cut this to size. Attach this ruffle, sort of like we discussed before. So I have quarters marked. I have the gathering thread done, which of course is done by hand like the last one was. The reason we do gathering threads by hand in the mid-19th century is because machines back then didn't do gathering threads. So to do it correctly, you need to do it by hand. And a hand gathering thread does look slightly different than a machine gathering thread. Most people would probably never notice it, but it is something to just like up your authenticity game if that's what you're doing. And I'll probably be sewing from this direction. So any pins I put in, I'm going to make sure that they're inserted in a manner that is easy to remove while I'm sewing. I kind of like the plain look with just the regular ruffles instead of doing lace or the insertion. All right, there's 1/4 pinned. So now I have to do the other 3/4. And while I'll meet you back at the machine, we're gonna do just long side, short side, long side, leave this end undone so that we can attach this to the pillow part. Slight change of plan, we're gonna work on ties. So I cut, it was some of the scrap fabric and I just cut it into 4. So I think I ended up around 1.25 inches. So now it's like 3/4 to 1 inch long. Alright, just finished sewing all 12 ties. So now we're going to attach these ties and the ruffle to this top part while also sewing the top part together. So we're doing like lots of steps within one seam. Alright, nearly done. So I have the big pillow, this attached. Okay, ties are in. All I have to do is sew across, and I'm hoping my machine will do it because this is a lot of fabric. Alright, last step is we gotta go back on here. We should have done this a couple of steps ago, but we need to sew in the straps. Alright, we're gonna do this from the floor and with a cat. Yeah, so there's not a lot of space to do anywhere else, and I didn't want to put it on the white thing because then you wouldn't be able to see it very well. So here we are. Probably could have ended up making that a little bit taller. I guess I measured it right the first time. It sure looked really big when I started. It'll still work. I can even fold this down a little bit like that. Like, we'll make it work. It'll be fine. But my original measurements, I think, were fine. Pretty ruffles. You see the ruffle goes all the way around, but it's a fake ruffle on here because it doesn't go all the way around. it's not like it's feathers, so obviously it's gonna go down a lot. This is obviously not a bed for a baby because this is way too soft by modern safety standards. But for holding in the arm when you're watching their airways and you need something because you're holding a baby for hours, or at least an hour, and your arm's gonna fall asleep, this will actually probably help with that, and I think that's its intended purpose. So I think for its intended purpose, it's a really cool idea. It doesn't seem to have stuck around terribly long. It's less like those little baby bungees because those were for warmth specifically. They were like baby blankets, but in like a cone shape to eliminate a lot of the bulk. This is more, you're gonna be holding your baby for a really long time. Let's make sure your arm doesn't fall asleep and that baby's comfortable. So I think this is actually going to work out just fine. Turned out well. And now we have one more thing to add to the collection and one more thing for me to pack, I suppose. But it's fine. Again, I think it's a cute idea for the couple weeks you're going to get use out of it and for photos. I think that's really about it. I don't think it's something that people actually need. Even within a living history context, it's definitely not a need. It's more of a, I have time and a little extra fabric. This is kind of cute for like the first introduction type situation. Maybe a tintype or something. Anyway, if you've enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe to the channel, click that little bell notification so you're notified anytime I upload a new video. And as always, have a fantastic week, and I'll see you back here in the next video.